Hello, everyone. Uh, Still having a rough day, but really felt compelled to make another video. Um, uh, when I'm not feeling good, I kind of watch comfortable movies, shows, and things. Um, and one of them is Star Wars, and this is series that has literally been out since before I was born, and I can remember playing Star Wars and stuff like that as a kid. And um, the layers of meaning that I have got from it throughout my life are just amazing to me. Um, and I think there's other movies that are like this, um, particularly in the 80s, that were kind of like little small guidance lights, um, for probably what people would call star seeds, or light bearers, or whatever you want to call people who are um, awake, whatever that means, right? um, and, people might question, like, this is to, you know, bring. I know there's a lot of stuff around Hollywood and how evil it is and corrupt, and some people would throw in satanic and things like that, and maybe it's all of those things. Um, but what's interesting is, I think, with a lot of these messages, it's another case of perspective. You can see it as negative, and I do see negative things, like, for instance, when in the last 10 years or so, being the villain is the cool thing. Um, Darth Vader is the cool guy, or being a stormtrooper. And when I was a kid, you wouldn't have wanted to be any of those people. You wanted to be Luke or Leia or Han. You wanted to be the hero. And so I do question the underlying message today and why that's being pushed. But that still doesn't mean that those movies or shows, if we're talking about shows, can't be a segue, gateway into good things. If you look at a lot of the messages for Star Wars, for example, it's light and dark and things like that. It's about balance. And I find it very comforting and insightful. I just watched the end of the 8th movie, I guess it is. And it's not The Rise of Skywalker, it's, I think, The Rise of the Jedi. The second to last movie. Anywho. um, and at the end of it, spoiler, Luke is basically putting himself onto another planet to distract everybody, and you really come to find out that he's basically in a meditation state, and he has astral projected to another place. Which, whoa, these are kind of big, huge, key concepts here, that you can meditate, you could project yourself, things like that. But then it's like he just chooses to surrender and not give up living, and it's actually this peaceful process. It's not a death per se, it's this actual surrendering of life force of the body. And it's really interesting. And I think it's what triggered my video this morning, which was about the Anna, the grandmother of Jesus book, because it talks about Jesus and his death, and how it was actually kind of a similar experience from my reading and understanding and perspective. Add that little addendum. So, um, I think I know a lot of people are like, Disney's evil, Disney's, blah, blah. And hey, there are things that are on Disney that my kids do not watch. I do not. We only have one TV in our house, and it is where it's in a common area where everybody can see and hear and know what's going on. Um, and, um, you know, and I tell the kids, oh, like, we might start watching something and then I'll turn it off and I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not a message that I want you to hear. And I don't like how this is being used as propaganda. And I might, depending on which child's watching it, we might dive into why it is propaganda or how it is, um, and, find something else to watch instead. Uh, I never believe in absolutes, all or nothing. Um, to me, why would I not want to watch Star Wars? That's something that I've watched and enjoyed as a child. And again, it's all your perspective and how you are narrating that with your kids. Um, you get to choose what kind of experience that is. I even had my kids, my younger kids, I let watch Octonauts, uh, which is on Netflix. And, you know, I find Octonauts less whiny. It's somewhat educational and that sort of thing. But they have a new show that's called Above and Beyond, and it deals with global warming and blah, 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 and a lot of narrative stuff. And, probably if I had delved into it, but I was probably pregnant or something, or who knows, or working on a house, who knows. But there's just times you're kind of desperate as a parent and you make a compromise. But it made my 9-year-old, who, is forced to watch this with younger siblings, she started asking about global warming. And she's like, what is that? What does that really mean and everything? And it actually led to a good discussion. And so once again, I could have turned off the show. We could have not watched it. To me, it wasn't in the realm of dangerous. It's just a realm of, I need to make sure I discuss this with my kids. I almost feel like now I look for shows and movies that can bring up and discuss these things in the format that a child can know, recognize, and understand. And sometimes it's a topic that it goes, whew, but there's other things that aren't over their head. There's other things that, it strikes their heart and we talk about. We've had some amazing discussions as a family around the dinner table. And again, not dealing in absolutes. We don't eat dinner around the table every single night. We have an exception. Usually Friday nights are our exception night, where we make French bread pizzas instead, and the kids kind of go sit in the living room or wherever they want to sit. And but most nights we eat dinner together as a family. It's something I really enjoy, and you get some great discussions together, and that hasn't always been possible. My husband worked 2 jobs for a very, very long time, like most of our marriage, all of our marriage, until the last year or so. And so those family meals are kind of what used to be something that was once, maybe twice a week, is now something we get to do often. And I love the discussions that we have. And sometimes it's not always discussion. Sometimes it's just what we did today. And I think in the moment, there's times I'll pause a movie and be like, hey, now, whoa, what do y'all think of this? Those are teachable moments for your kids, for yourself. Um, if there is an agenda that you're worried about, take those moments, pause, and say, hey, let's step back and be observers. There's ways to teach our kids about enlightenment or awakening or the light or what, keep picking adjectives here. There's ways to teach them. And, like it or not, better or worse, unless you're going to be Amish, electronics are kind of part of our world, and you can choose to how much to regulate that or not, and you can choose to ban things or not. You can choose to embrace things, shift the perspective, and see what your kids are walking away with. And I choose to, we don't watch regular TV. We don't watch the news. My kids, when there are commercials, even on Hulu, when we had Hulu, they'd be like, what the heck is this? Because they didn't understand what a commercial was. So I feel like there's ways of negating propaganda. And then ultimately the biggest pause, stop button, and having discussions when you need them. But I think there's movies and shows, The Never Ending Story is an amazing movie that I'm sure there's activations and downloads. Laundry's done. There's activations and downloads in that. And there's so many other movies from that time period. And then it's also, I kind of go, oh my gosh, what the heck was I watching as a kid? Some of these are scary. Like, I would never let my kids watch this now. So it's a balance, and you'll have to weigh that balance. But I really feel like TV, movies, the internet, even books, all of it, it's tools, it offers perspectives, and you need to, as a parent, guide your kids through them. Again, I think when you deal with absolutes where it's all or nothing, then you risk your kids running out as adults and running to the very thing you're trying to protect them from. Whereas if you guide them and you tell them why it's, something may seem wrong, or, noticing all the villains being idealized and stuff like that. If you point those things out and you have conversations about them, that starts to, I think it will activate their heart. It will activate their minds. It will give them pause to think. It will make them think of, what am I watching? We've had discussions. I used to watch some of the murder mystery type shows, and my husband was like, these are really dark. Like, why are you watching these? And I was also really depressed and anxious around that time, and I didn't realize the correlation between the two until he said something. And I'm like, why am I watching this stuff? Why am I watching people being murdered all the time? Why am I finding that entertaining? And if you like that sort of thing, no judgment here. That was just my personal assessment after evaluating that. It didn't hold to my alignment. So, it was so funny. I got done making the last video. I'm like, make another video, like now. And I was like, no, I don't have the energy to. So, kind of scraped together a bit of energy here. Because for whatever reason, that's an important message to get out, is maybe don't consider all or nothing. Maybe consider shifting the perspective and seeing how you can guide your kids, yourself, other people. With other people, I don't hold attachment to it. And even with my kids, I try not to attach anything. I think I'm a little more invested in the outcome, so of who they are as adults. But I don't try to change them. I just try to get them to think. Again, I think that goes back to we can be in that fear awareness state, and I try to make them aware of different things that are in the world, and even as much as what you're watching on TV and what the lesson is. And no, we don't have discussions all the time. Sometimes we just brainlessly watch TV too. So I'm not going to go for perfect parent award here, just an okay one. So anyway, I hope, I know parenting through this journey, if you're awakening, if you're becoming enlightened and everything, you might, I found it challenging. I couldn't really find people that I resonated with. And I think that's one of the reasons I was really called to do these videos. Wasn't just for any adult out there, but for parents especially. And I'm not going to claim to have it all down, that I'm perfect. I'm very imperfect. There's days I fail considerably. But I also think that's the raw, authentic truth of being a parent in this journey too. So that was one of those things that really was coming to mind as a parent for kids. And I think in general, I think if you're struggling and you need to just veg out on, what is it, Netflix and chill, if you need to do something like that, you're human, do it, whatever. But what you're watching in that chill time can matter. What's feeding into your mind. And when I'm sitting there watching Star Wars, because I've gone through the whole series, I'm on the second run of it now. At some point, being pregnant, I am not going to be sick all the time. However, that time is not today. But what I'm feeding my mind and what I notice each time is something amazing and different, and I am taking new life lessons to heart. And maybe, somebody else watching it's just going to watch it and be entertained as a movie. They might not, see it as enlightenment or guiding them to their higher self or something like that. And that's okay. No judgment. It's just, you can and do that very possibly, if you choose to. And there's other movies you can look at and choose to do those things too. So I hope that helps somebody. I feel like it might be helping somebody, and that's why I needed to get it out today. So I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you have a great afternoon, evening.